All right, everybody, welcome to the Groundsmen Thoughts, man. That top order just demolished So normally what that structure looks like is like this, and honestly, that's part of why the groundsmen are here as well, so that you don't have to wait for Coke Week in order to see who's who and what's what. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Groundsmen. Yet again, week number 4, where you find everything that has to do with school cricket, how the boys are doing, what they're doing, how they're doing it, what the schools are doing, what's going on in the school cricketing sphere. As usual, I've got my co-host TT. How you doing, brother?
Doing good, man. Week 4. Week 4. I'm keen. I saw some headlines of some of the teams that were playing this weekend, man. I'm keen.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Some of the teams starting to come back online. Some warm-up games happening. We had some exciting games this past weekend. And I mean the boys are starting to push through, hey? We got the Michael Mass festival coming up. This weekend I was with a young player from St. John's, Keshav. He's looking forward to going to Michael Mass. They got a lot of scouts, a lot of selectors out in that tournament. So the boys are really excited, man. And you can see with some of the scores that are coming up that the schools are lining themselves up to really rack up some W's, man.
Yeah. Can we just recap again what the Michael Mats festival is? Am I saying that right?
Yeah, Michael Mass. I call him Michael Mass. I've heard other guys call it Nickel Mass. But I also call it Michael Mass. Listen, they start on the 2nd to the 5th of October. It's out in Peter Maritzburg, out in Maritzburg College. Again, there's tons of schools coming through. The last one, they had 22 schools come through. You get everybody from St. Stithians, Pretoria Boys High, Grey College, Care, St. John's, Hudson Park, St. Albans. You get everybody from Durban High School, Clifton College, Kersney, like all the big boy schools are out there. So obviously you get selectors coming out to that tournament because it's one of the few tournaments when you can get so many cricketing schools all in one place, and to showcase their skills.
So am I right to presume that the boys that perform here are the boys we should be keeping an eye out as well as cricket fans?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The boys that perform here are the boys that we should be watching out for. And again, unfortunately, it's not everybody that goes to this tournament that gets an opportunity to go to trials but there definitely a good chunk of the boys that are here are also spread quite nicely around the country. So fortunately, it's not like it's one province that has to pick out of the schools that are here. It's different provinces: Western Cape, Gauteng, Northerns, KZN, Boland, Border, Northwest. I don't know if there are any Northwest teams, but definitely a nice spread across the country. Good opportunity for kids to face other kids around the country that are playing exceptionally well.
Is the people's team play?
The people's team will be there. The people's team will be there. And now that you
Yes,
mentioned the
sir.
people's team, I think there's an opportunity. This week was an opportunity for redemption for the people's team. Okay, they had a shocking start, which we discussed in episode 3 of our podcast. But I think this week they did themselves a bit of justice. Not it's not a Saint Stithians performance, but it was a comeback. It was a comeback.
Is that now? Have you dubbed good performances St. Stithians performance?
Okay, listen, okay. I see where you're going with this, but wait until no, wait until I show you what they did this past weekend, and you can tell me whether or not a good performance is a St. Stithians performance or not.
You know who my team is. I told you
Yeah.
from the beginning. St. Stithians is the bar. They are the bar.
Nah, dude, it was a monstrous performance by St Stithians this weekend. RIP St David's. Hopefully you'll see a resurrection next weekend, but goodness gracious me. Okay. Let's let's just do a roundup of the schools we're talking about this week. We got Affis versus Waterkloof. Fantastic game. Not really much to write home about. Affis winning that game by 3 wickets. I mean, Waterkloof winning that game by 3 wickets, but we'll talk more about that. We had the People's Team, Pretoria Boys High first team, playing against Centurion first team. Pretoria Boys winning that game by 98 runs. So a good performance there by Pretoria Boys. Come back. Again, hey, some guys might say you don't want to peak too soon. You know, there's a whole conversation around that. That's got to happen. And then we had Potchefstroom coming back against Rustenburg High, winning that game by 99 runs. So Potchefstroom doing themselves some justice after a hurting start, playing St Stithians. We had St Stithians playing against St David's this past weekend. Man, oh man, St Stithians won the game by 298 runs. They scored 501 in 50 overs. Just, man. Okay, can we have a moment of silence for St. David? Just a moment of silence.
How much did they score?
They scored 501 for 6.
501. That's half of 1,000 runs.
Mate. 5 keeper.
There's 2 stories here, right?
Yeah.
There is the bowling, and then there is the bat.
Yeah.
Let's get it. Who did damage? Who hurt them? Who are the guys that put St. David's into the ground? Who are the guys that just nailed it? It sounds like they were hammered into the ground. This isn't just a good performance. Sounds like in Setswana we say which essentially means they found a dead rabbit.
Yeah,
the rabbit was already dead at the time they got there.
And they just mauled it. They tore them apart, man. To be fair, St. David scored 204 for 6. They didn't get bowled out. Kudos to them. But yeah, it was a rough one, man. It was a tough day out for St. David's. It's not I can't say they had a lot to be proud of. But it seems like they tried to hang in there, especially with the likes of Mapaka coming after them. So kudos to them for hanging in there and not getting bowled out and batting out the full 50.
I actually disagree on this one. I'm going to push back on this
one. Okay.
I disagree because as a team, when you're chasing 500, by the end of 50 overs, you better be all out. You better be close to the target. But if you still had 4 wickets in hand and you didn't even get to half of what you were chasing, it means that you had given up. It means that you as a team you would rather celebrate not losing wickets than being 302 all out and having a bang. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
When you're facing a big score like that, it shows the character of a team, right? The team, the score they scored shows a batting lineup that gave up. They weren't trying to get there. They didn't think they could get to 5 or 10. They were all just trying to get some batting practice in. It sounds to me like it was one of those where the coach is just like, get some overs in the belt. Stay in, get some time in the middle. They had just relegated the result to getting some time in the middle. And I guess if as a warm-up game, look, to me, it says that you don't have that will, that instinct to win, right? But at the same time, it could be a coach saying, listen, man, these boys aren't going to get to 5-10. they could lose their morale on the way there. Let me rather get their confidence up by just having them get some time in the middle, right? That
Yeah.
could be a tactic to say, hey, let's get the boys. It's a moral victory for them to not be boiled out by St Stithians. But again, that just speaks to how dominant St Stithians is. That teams go in not trying to beat you, but to simply try and survive you.
Oh, that's hey man, like that's tough to argue on. And I guess you're right when it comes to sort of a killer instinct having to be developed in the game, right? So these boys sort of need to be able to find that somewhere along the line. And in all honesty, if you're not going to find it in the game, it gets very difficult to cultivate that killer instinct outside of a controlled, ruled sporting environment. Um,
Mm.
yeah, and again, you look at the fact that they're close to also going on tour and meeting some of the big schools at Michael Mass. Do you want a team that's the complexities of being a coach, right? So are you going to spend this time in sort of these preseason warm-up games, getting guys time in the middle because they haven't had a lot of time in the middle, spend time, face the ball, uh, get a feel for the wicket, get a feel for being out there picking gaps, um, or you're gonna go for wins so that the groundsmen don't hammer you on on next week, in the next episode. So I think it's a double-edged sword in that they have to balance those two realities. For me, if you ask me personally, I think this is a time for you guys to be working on your plans. This is a time for you to be working on your execution. I think by the time you get to the second drinks break, you then have to change gears, right? Let's say you,
Yeah.
you, you got to 34 overs or whatever, and you're like, okay, cool. We had second drinks break. Where are we? We're 148 for three. Okay, now we change gears, right? Let's go T20 mode now, right? We're changing. Yes, we're chasing a massive score, but even if we don't think we'll get there, let's go T20. You set yourself a score as a team, and you say we're gonna chase that, right? And then you work. That for me. You're working on tactics. You're working on game scenarios. You're working, especially if you're chasing 501, mate. Very few teams will will be able to chase that, considering the psychological um, uh, the psychological back foot that you basically are in. 501 is a score you can set, but to chase is another question altogether. So for me, that's I think where for the coach there, for the players as well, for the captain, I think that's where I think St. David's might have missed it to say, we had 204 for six. What is that? What does that mean to us? What does that really matter? But if you were able to use the game to bat out your 50, yes, but to chase certain targets along the way, I think with that, and fair enough, St. Stithians' batting bowling lineup is strong. Okay, so it's very rare that you're gonna score 300 against them.
They got some
But
killers in there.
yeah, I know you got some proper ballers in there. But you also need to be able to find the strengths in your own batting lineup, and I think that's where St. David's might have missed it, man.
Yeah. I mean, look, man, I believe that moments like that, games like that, it's a great opportunity to find out who's got it like that.
Mm.
Which one of the players who's gonna step up? You probably might win, but give the boys a license.
Yeah,
Game like that, give the boys a license. Let's see which players actually step up. Let's see. I mean, you got nothing to lose. Go out there, play your game. That should have been the message.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I agree that pairing that message with your targets is how they should have gone. Should have been go out there, play your game. Here's our targets. Here's our game. Even if they set themselves a specific target to say, if we can get to after the first 30 overs, if we can get to 200 plus after
yeah,
the first 30, right? Then boys, we've got a license. Let's go after it. But
yeah,
again, St. David's isn't in the top 20, so we may be expecting too much. You know, we
Yeah.
may be essentially sitting here saying, well, you know, Bangladesh should have done this to Australia. And it's like, bro, they can only do what they can do.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, perhaps they can only do what they can do. And that's no hit on them. You know, there's a reason why St Stithians is the number 2 school in the country.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm.
And they're showing it week after week that these ratings mean something. These ratings indicate a certain level of skill, a certain level of ability, and it shows when they play the teams that aren't on that level. So I think as a team that's not on that level, targets is the way to go. Play your own game. Play your own game so that you're at least, if you're slightly, if St. Stithians are slightly better than you, then you're
Mm.
probably going to be the best in your league.
Yeah.
So you need to be looking at, okay, cool, we need to at least score 300 plus. If we can score 300 plus against St. Stithians, we've got we're pretty good, even though they scored 500.
Yeah.
Because now the biggest problem is now they've done 2 things. One, everybody knows that their bowling lineup is
Yeah.
suspect,
It's up for grabs.
right? And
Runs
everybody
galore.
knows number 2, they're not built to fight.
Mm. Yeah, that's the message they've
So
sent out there, basically. St. David's, that's what they've said. We're not going to scrap. And also, if you get a hold of our bowling lineup, you can basically have your way.
yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, listen, tough day
Are
out
they
for
going
St.
to the
David.
Michael Mass Festival?
They'll be there.
Oof, that's gonna be a tough. That's We'll be looking out for St. David. We're pulling for you guys. We're pulling
Yeah,
for you guys. We're hoping that you guys get things done right. I mean, it is only the beginning of the season, but yeah, man, you guys are gonna have to step up if you want to do well at that tournament.
absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, since we're talking about it, right, we might as well have the conversation around how that game went. I think there's quite a bit that can be covered there. Fantastic performances, obviously um, from the St. Stithians boys. I don't know if you remember when we first covered St. Stithians game, right? I think that was episode 1. We spoke about Kwena, and then we also spoke about the two boys up front, right? I think it was Ruben DuToit and I actually forgot what the other kid's name is, but he didn't play this time around, right? So Ruben
Yeah.
opened up with Kieran Pillay. Um, I think it was Kieran Pillay that was up there. Was he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it
Sounds
was.
familiar.
Yeah, I think it was Kieran Pillay. But listen, fire performance from Ruben DuToit, man. Man, is this boy consistent? 124 and 80 balls at a strike rate of 155. Like, this boy is
Ruben is a killer. I'm
impressive, bro.
sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Ruben is a killer up front.
Seriously.
Ruben as an open, Ruben is now our guy. Well, for me, Ruben's my guy when it comes to batting.
Yeah,
I'm following Ruben all the way to provincial.
yeah,
If
yeah.
Ruben's not in that under 19 side, it's
I don't
early
know.
days.
Who
It's
else is
early
there?
days. It's early days.
Yeah,
But Ruben DuToit, opening batsman.
yeah. That's what we're looking for. That's what we're looking at. Ruben DuToit, you are my boy. You are groundsman certified, man. This boy
Definitely.
is a hammer. And I don't, oh, yes. You remember when I said to you, because Ruben and Pillay, Ruben and Kieran scored the hundreds up front, right? In the first game.
Yeah.
And then I said to you, there was a boy called Richard Salatzwane that came in,
Yeah.
scored a
5 or
quick,
6.
yeah, he came in at number 5, right? And I said to you, "Oh, I saw this boy's technique, and I thought, no, no, no. If he had a bit of time, he'd do damage, right?
Yeah.
Oh, he had a bit of time this time around. Oh, the boy had a bit of time this time around, man. He scored 186 in 94
Oh,
balls at
hello.
a strike rate of 197.
Hello.
Shout out to Richard Seletswane.
Richard is the man who buried St. David.
Yes.
We found our man.
The man who put them in the ground, bro. The man
Oh,
who put
Richie.
them in the ground. Yeah, man. The man who put them in the ground is Richard Seletswane. 186 and 94 at 197 strike rate. How do you, and you know what's bad about that,
Not
right?
out.
No, you got out. You got out.
Yeah.
But you know what's bad about that is that you like Rueben scored 124, right? And then Kieran scored 31 and got out. I think at that point at St. David's, you're like, headway, boys, let's go. Because by the time Kieran got out, they weren't really anyway, right? Ruben was still under 50 when Kieran got out. And then the number 3 comes out, Tebe Gazide comes in, goes out for 8. Right? At that point, you're like, we're making headway, boys. Headway.
Yeah.
Let's get it. In comes Richard Seletswane. He goes hard. And you think, here we go. Right? Ruben goes out. In comes Leandro Pretorius, the wicket keeper. Right?
Yeah.
Boy scores 106 in 57 balls at a strike rate of 185.
Wait,
so
hold on. Hold on. What happened? So
number 4
he
and
comes
5
in and joins Richard.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
he comes
what's
in
his
and
name?
joins Richard. Leandro Pretorius.
Leandro Pretorius, accomplice.
Yes, the accomplice.
You're an accomplice to burying a team alive.
Yeah, no, dude. Yeah, no. Richard 186. Leandro comes in, scores 106. All of them with a strike rate of 180 plus. Absolutely scary, man. Absolutely scary. Like this top order of St. Stithians makes it so difficult to not include at least 2 or 3 of them in your top order for the Gauteng squad. It makes it difficult. You look at everybody else and you're like, okay, it's gonna look a bit biased to include their top order, but I mean, we'll see. Listen, let's look at the first half. Let's see after Michael Mass. Let's see how the boys did. But at this point in time, if you don't have Richard, if you don't have Ruben, if you don't have Kieran, if you don't have Laundry, what are you doing, boy? A keeper that can score 100 for you at this strike rate is rare.
Dude.
Is
and they bowling?
Absolutely rare. It's rare. Okay. Obviously nothing to write home about from St. David's. If we talk about them, I think it's just going to be demoralizing for the bowlers, man. So I think we'll leave them alone. Most of them had most of them had an economy of over 8. A lot of them had an economy of over 10. Can you
How
hear
did
that?
the St. Stithians? I lost your visual.
Oh, sorry. I think my phone is dead. Can you hear the music playing in the back?
Nah, not really. My headphones aren't like proper headphones.
Okay. Yeah, then
But
it's
I
fine.
can't hear any music.
Okay, cool. Then we back in 3, 2, 1. Yeah, so I mean the boys, yeah, it's tough, man. Most of these kids, the St. David's bowlers have an economy of over 10. There was one youngster, Matthew West, bowled 2 overs, went for 41. It's It's rough, man. Only had one dot ball, economy of 20. It was a tough day out.
How were the St Stithians bowlers?
Saints did all right. They shared the wickets amongst the bowlers. Gwenna bowled 9 overs for 23 at an economy of 2.5. So excuse me. So as you can imagine, it's fantastic to see that even when he's not taking wickets, he can keep the run rate down. So
Yeah, he's
absolutely
economical.
fantastic. Hmm?
He's economical.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Absolutely fantastic, man. Another so the highest wicket taker, 2 wickets for Esosa Iheba. Esosa Iheba, young player, took 2 wickets for 22, bowled 6 at an economy of 3.6. So listen, nothing too much to write home about from the bowlers, but it's good to see that Okwena can bowl 9 overs, um, go for as few runs as possible. So he doesn't have to be taking wickets for him to be encouraged to bowl well and bowl quick.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
that's definitely true. That's definitely true. It's good to see that he's bankable even on the days where he's not making runs. That's a big thing for a fast bowler. It's one
yeah,
thing to pick up wickets and be a fast bowler, but to also be able to keep the run rate down.
yep, yep. Especially up front. You can imagine you're bowling up front. So when the team comes in up front, they've essentially, yes, they're chasing 501, but they've got an entire batting lineup to come, right? So there's confidence there. Um,
Yeah,
and yeah, for him to bowl as well as he did, I think it shocked St. David's into understanding what is to come, and understanding what really is happening here and whether or not they can get to that 501 or not. So I think they definitely were able to set the tone.
did he open the bowling?
Yeah, I did. Obvious. The first team is back. He's not playing under 15. Obvious.
All right, so Quentin's back. Oh, he's now opening. Was he opening last week?
Yeah, the first game that we spoke about him and we found him, we took the 5 against Khimis. He was opening the bowling there. That was the first team playing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So every first team game that I've seen him and he's opened the bowling. It's only against under 15s, where he came in like second change or things like that.
All right.
Yeah, man. So yeah, listen, we started with the highlight of the weekend, which is a huge one. And then I guess we can go to Pretoria Boys versus Centurion. Again, Centurion's not in the top 20, but Pretoria Boys is. So technically, Pretoria Boys should have won this game, and they did. Their bowling came back. I mean, their batting came back into it now. I think the batsmen are starting to find their stride. They scored 253 for 8 in 50 overs, and they bowled Centurion out for 155. So essentially winning that game by 98 runs.
Okay. Okay, the people's team. Way to redeem yourselves.
Yeah,
Consummate
way to redeem.
performance.
Way to redeem, man. Way to redeem. A youngster coming in, Robert Jordan, coming in at number 4, scored a 50, which is nice. It seems like everybody sort of got a start, right? So
Yeah.
we number 2 came in, Kieran Krum came in scoring 31. And then we had Leo Sandler coming in at 3, scoring 33. And then obviously then we had what's his name? Number 4 coming in, Robert Jordan coming in and scoring a 50. So I think it was a nice performance. It's almost like waking up a puppy, right? Wakes up nice and slow. It was a tough day out the first game. Now they're awake. It seems like they may have heard us last week, bagging on them a little bit. And it seems like they've woken up, man. They've decided to put on their big boy pants, and come and play.
Now we see you boys, huh? Slowly churning on the engines. Slowly. Get into gear, boys. I get into gear. Love the performance. Now let's keep it up. Let's keep it up. Let's get 100 in there. Get some big scores going. Get some fivers going. Come, boys.
Yeah, man. So that's Waterkloof versus Affies. It was a really good game, low scoring game, but definitely some fireworks, some scrap there from Affies. And congratulations from Waterkloof. Again, another win under your belt, a tight one. And I think it's fantastic to get a game like this before the tournament and the season starts, to also test you, right? To test. I mean, your top order's been hammering, guys.
Yeah.
So to get an opportunity for your middle order to pull through for you guys, and also for the guys to show a bit of character and see you guys over the line. Fantastic, well done, Waterkloof.
Yeah, no, definitely. It needed to stretch their middle order, but before they start getting serious, test their middle order, but see if they can pick up the slack if things go bad in the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. I think stuff like this is exactly why you play preseason games, right? Get everybody a
Yeah.
knock, get everybody an opportunity to get going and to find their feet. As soon as you do that, you have an opportunity to play different games that are going to test you in different ways.
Mm.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah, man. And then the last game I think for today that we're going to talk about is Grey College versus Potchefstroom Chemies. As you guys can remember, Chemies got their got their
They
bat
met St
handed to them.
Stithians. They met St Stithians.
They
We'll
met
just
St
leave it.
Stithians, man.
They played St Stithians, and we all know what happened so far to guys that play St Stithians.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
What we can say is that they were better than St. David's.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It was rough, man. Listen, I think conceding I think it was a 390 odd in that game. It must have been a difficult one to overcome. And
Yeah.
then again, then they come and have to face Great College, which is also a behemoth in the game. Fantastic players, good school. Um, we got a few sort of Proteas out of there, so it's definitely not an easy task for you guys to come from a game like that and then have to go play Great College, but they did, and they won.
Grey
So
College is ranked 11th, aren't they?
yeah, I think they're 11th now. I'll have to double check that, but yeah, I think they're 11th on the the
Yeah,
log.
either 11th or 10th, because I know it was Grey High and Grey College following each other.
Yeah, yeah. So
Unless they
it's
were up top. We'll check. Anyway.
yeah, no. We'll check. We'll check for ourselves. It was an interesting one because if you look at it, I mean, Gray. It was rough for Gray, man. It was rough. When I look at these scores, you can see that Pretoria, I mean, Potchefstroom Chemies scored 197 and 8, 197 for 8. And then Gray, they bowled Gray out for 111. So it's tough, man, to barely score 110 in a game. Gray is reminding me a little bit of the People's team. They played a few inter-house games. And yeah, I don't know, man. It just seems a bit slow for me.
So they've already had some middle time.
Yeah, they had some middle time. They played some inter-house games. They didn't record those on sort of the public scoring on the scoring apps. But clearly, we can see
We
why,
know
right?
why.
We can see why. Because if you come out like this on your first weekend out, mate, you got St Stithians scoring 500 plus, bud. You out here barely can score 110. So,
I'm
um,
pretty sure Great College are the guys with the 11 turf nets, if
dude,
memory serves me
I
correctly.
I seriously need to get a horn or something because I feel like I feel like I'm missing out. Like there's so many moments where I'm like, listen, that deserves a horn. That deserves a horn, man. But yeah, basically, yeah, I think they've got like 10 turf nets and a few I think they also got a like an indoor center thing, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, listen, man, there's there are definitely resources over there. They
I think it's time we petition. We need to see if Potchgimmies keeps doing well. They need a spot at the tournament.
yeah. I don't know if they'll be there. I hope they go there, man. I think Jimmy's is a
Michael
team that
Mass.
can scrap. Yeah, Michael Mass. I think there's it's a team that can scrap. And clearly they go back, they work hard, and then they see if they can come back and do better again. So definitely think there's a slot for them there, and there's an opportunity for them, if for nothing else, to just grow their cricket, right? Get some experience.
Mm,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
But yeah,
So
man. I think Great College is going to have to do something about that.
yeah, listen, they're gonna have
But
to.
full credit to Gimmies, they've always been a good side. So yeah, but if you're number 10, number 11 in the country, we expect better. Great College had to meet up with St Stithians. It would be a funeral at this point.
It would be a tough one. It would definitely be a tough one. Um, I think they got hurt, man. They got hurt by specifically Junior Mate. Bowled 9 overs, took 4 wickets for 43 runs, So uh,
Junior Mate from Gimmies.
Junior Mate from Gimmies, bud.
Okay.
I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking.
We see
Uh,
you, brother.
yeah, it's not a mistake. It's not a mistake. It's Junior Mate from Gimmies. I think, yeah, man.
Congrats.
I think the boy tried. And he clearly he's a spinner, left arm orthodox, um,
Mm,
fantastic spinner, man. He clearly bowled a good line, a good length. The first wicket he got a guy caught in the covers. Next wicket caught in the covers again. So like it was, yeah, no. Second wicket was LBW. Sorry, first wicket guy got caught in the covers. Second wicket was LBW. The guys playing across the line. So he's definitely a talent, man. I've watched a few tapes of him bowl. Do you see? I don't know if you can see my screen. Um,
mm.
yeah, so we've seen a few of his. Big turner though, big turner of the ball. Like he seems like an exciting talent. He reminds me a little
Yeah.
bit of an Oti. He reminds me of an Oti Ramaboa, man. Like he's such a
Okay.
left arm
Looks smooth.
orthodox, turns the ball properly, smooth action, proper follow
Mm.
through, stumping. The last wicket that he scores that he got was a stumping. Fantastic keeping, by the way, from the keeper. Uh, strong bowler, I think. Very good lines, very good lengths. Yeah, man, very exciting, very exciting. Junior Mate, We see you, boy.
I'm looking at those hips though, Junior. Looking at those hips though.
Mm,
They're not
mm,
coming through all the way. Coming through
yeah,
all the way. If you go back and look back, he sort of half stops a bit. Doesn't they don't kick through.
yeah,
No, the hips are especially left arm orthodox.
yeah. They don't.
The hips gotta
Yeah.
push through
So
all the way.
yeah, and if he did that, I think he'd get some decent pace through the air, and I think he'd get more rip. He'd get more
Yeah,
rip.
get that rip and that dip.
Yeah,
You look at him here, he
yeah,
goes boom. See, he doesn't follow through. Just follow it through. Those hips don't come through.
yeah. And at that pace, guys are gonna come after you. I think if you come across the St Stithians, might be a bit of a different game. But again, Great College are good. It's not like he's bowling against
Yeah.
um, guys who come
Ah,
back.
he's
So I
doing
think he
well.
did great. Yeah, so those hips need to come through, man. I think the youngster, but I think there's definitely something there. At this age group,
Yeah.
though, I think that Northwest Academy development structures need to get in there. Get him in touch with Coach Imran should be there at Fields College. Fantastic spinner coach. I think he'd work him out.
Yeah, you could definitely do some wonders with him.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, so that's Poch Gimmies versus Great College. Absolutely fantastic. I think the kids did uh, really well. Again, like we said, we follow the seniors, so these are the under 19 boys, under 18 boys coming through, looking to perform well and hopefully be up for Coke Week and their provincial teams. I think the rugby, there's been quite a bit of rugby and hockey going on, so a lot of the kids and the schools have been there. I think we're going to see a pickup in the games coming up in the next week or two, as the rest of the other schools come up. As the clubs go back, they start their seasons in October. I think the first week of October. So there's about 2 weeks left before the clubs came back, which is essentially then the schools are also back playing leagues, which also then sort of ushers in the Michaelmas tournaments and all of that. So there's definitely a lot of cricket to come, guys. There are great young talents that we've identified here on the Groundsmen. And dog, I think we're starting to unearth where the talent is, right? And also
Yeah.
to make sure that the people know where the talent is and who the exceptionally talented are in our country.
Mm. It's first about trying to figure out who's scoring the most runs, who's taking the most wickets. Then we'll start to figure things out from there.
Yeah,
So as we go through this week by week, we're just tracking the boys and we're seeing who's performing, who's doing well, who's actually somebody that we as people can get behind and go, okay, wait, these boys deserve opportunity. These boys have performed.
yeah,
They deserve an opportunity. That's
yeah,
really what we're trying to figure out. So I'd like to propose something before we go, and that is to introduce a thought of the day where I would ask you a question and then you would give your thought on that before we wrap it up.
yeah. Uh, that would be great, man. That would be great. I don't mind the thought of the day. Yeah, man. Like there was something I was watching this interview with one of these college football coaches, right, in the US, and he was talking
Mm,
about something so interesting, and I just thought this translates for us as well, considering the fact that coaches have such an influence on your selection as a player, to go to the highest level, right? The next coach wants
yeah.
to select you. Often they'll go back to your high school coach and just get a report from them, or your club coach and get a report. And he said something so interesting in that, there are two words that are most important in a player report, and that is the word and but, right? And he says, as
Mm,
a player, what you want is for a coach to say, he's really hardworking, he shows up for the team, he scores really well, he concentrates really well, and he helps pack up after practice. He's the first guy at practice, and right. What you don't want is for a coach to say, he's one of my top run scorers. If you want a run machine, he's fantastic. If you want someone that will grind for you on the ground, he's fantastic. But he's ill-disciplined at school. He's very difficult to coach. He's a bit disruptive at practices. You'll have to watch him. He doesn't always show up for games on time. So that but means everything, because like we said in the last I think it was in our episode 2, episode 3, where we spoke about the fact that when you are there, coaches are looking for a reason to cut you, right? Whoever is there, who is the head coach or the selectors, they're looking for a reason to cut you. And the person who's supposed to be your spokesperson, and even worse if you don't have one, it's going to be a conversation around, yes, he scored 200s during this tournament, but his coach says this. He was they snuck out during the tournament and they got caught doing 1, 2, 3. They are the ones that were 1, 2, 3 at the hostels. They snuck out and so it really forms part of a conversation. And I thought to myself how whether or not these young boys understand how much they contribute to their selection or to them being left out.
That's powerful, man.
Yeah.
Because there reigns so much truth in that statement. If you look at a lot of the guys that didn't make it, or that and went on to play, say, club cricket, a lot of those guys or academy, and we go, yes, this guy is so good, he should be playing higher. He should be playing franchise, or at least he should be playing essays, right?
Yeah.
And then you go and ask those guys what happened, right? And each one of those guys will give you a story that would give you the but.
Yeah.
In their story, their but is the reason why they didn't make it. They could play, they had all the talent, they had everything, but they were a handful. They were a problem to deal with off the court.
Yeah.
Off the field, they were a mission. And there's a lot of those guys. We know a lot of those guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Grew up with a
And
lot
they
of
know
those
themselves.
guys. Yeah.
And we'll bring them on. You know, it's not even like anyone's shame. We'll bring the guys on that will come and chat about how they could have been there, and they'll tell you exactly why they didn't make it.
Yeah.
And they're okay with it, but it's a lesson to young guys that what you do off the field matters. What you do off the field matters. Because when it comes down to it, they don't just look at your performance, they're looking at you as a person.
Yeah.
They're saying, do I want to spend? I mean, think about it. These people have to spend sometimes weeks with you, sometimes months with you, depending on what type of camp you're going to, depending on where you're traveling to. These people, a part of the decision is, do I want to spend that much time being responsible for someone who does not have discipline?
Yeah.
Because he's responsible for you as a coach. So if you're known for sneaking out, guess what? I now have to travel with somebody who is known for sneaking out. But you don't realize that the minute you are out of his sight and something happens, it's his fault.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
He's
not
accountable.
yours.
Yeah.
Nobody says, what were you doing? Why did you sneak out? No, everybody says, coach, why didn't you watch him? And why don't you have a handle on your team?
Yeah.
Because you're not an adult. Your parents had to sign some stuff for you to leave.
Yeah.
And when they signed that stuff, they agreed and the coach essentially agreed to be responsible for you. So you
Yeah.
have to understand that that affects your selection. No matter how good you are, if you're too much of a headache, you're just not worth it.
Yeah. You're a liability. Nobody wants to take a liability with it. It's like pulling a hand grenade, pulling the pin out of a hand grenade, and now you've got to hold it the whole time on tour. The moment you let it go, you know that thing's gonna blow up in your face. And no one wants to spend a week on tournament with players like that, if we're honest with each other. Because you essentially, as a coach, you're working during the game, right? Making sure guys are in line and they're doing their things and everybody's heads in the right places. And then after that, that's when you're supposed to be thinking about tomorrow's game. Where we playing, who we playing, analysis on those players, chat to your captain, have a conversation with your spinners, your bowlers, get them prepped and ready for tomorrow. You are in work mode. Now, the problem with players that always have a but in their story is that you're forcing the support staff, which is essentially the team manager, coach, all those guys, to be focused on your shenanigans and not on the progress of the team. And unfortunately, because guys like those are usually they're usually characters, right? They're usually quite infectious in the way they go about things. They'll
Yeah.
pull 3 or 4 other players with them, and then that just becomes a thing.
Mm. And, in all honesty, man, I was one of those guys. I was one of those guys. Every time, hey, man, when the night goes down, we going out. We're
Yeah,
gonna see what's happening. But you realize that is honestly one of the most selfish things that you can do.
yeah,
You've been chosen. 12 guys were chosen. I was lucky enough to be chosen that. And then what do? I decide that I am going to spend my time pissing it up at night.
yeah,
And yeah, you do well, but not everybody's built like that. And you don't actually do as well as you'd like to do because you're not at your best. And
yeah,
it's like, how selfish of a person can you be to decide that there's so many kids that are sitting at home that wish they could be on that tournament, that will
yeah,
never, ever, ever get that opportunity to get
yeah,
to be at Coke Week or to be at under 17 provincial week, momentum week,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's just the reality, man. I'm saying this stuff in hindsight to guys that don't it's not cool. It may feel like a holiday, and I know to a lot of guys that it is. Some guys never get to go out. So that tournament is the first time they've probably ever left their city, some guys.
yeah,
That's a reality. So do they want to go out? Do they want to see the places? Of course.
yeah,
But I'll tell you what, guys, man, it's it's just not it's not who you want to be as a man. You don't want to be the type of man that pisses away his opportunities. You don't want to be that guy. Don't be that guy. And at under 19, once you get to under 19, you're pretty much an adult. You're making that decision as a grown man now. You're deciding to piss away an opportunity to be somebody. And it may not even be a cricket opportunity, but an opportunity for people to see you as somebody who's respectable. That you know what, you didn't make it, but what you don't understand is that you're about to go out into the real world. And in the real world, you need people to like you.
yeah,
In the real world, you need people to think you're a respectable person. Most importantly, you need people to think you're trustworthy.
yeah,
That hey, you know what? I went on tournament with that boy. Nah, I could back him. I could bank on him.
yeah, yeah. Great guy, responsible, got a good head on his shoulders. There's a spot open here. Call T up. Call him. He'll do the job. He'll be fantastic. And honestly, that is it, right? So a lot of people will make the statement that money makes the world go round, but in reality, relationships make the world go round, man. And um, if you're a nasty person to be around or a problem to be around, or every time there's something going on, you're in the middle of that instigation. Honestly, those relationships burn out very quickly. As soon as you leave high school, everybody goes their separate ways. Some go to varsity, some go to colleges, some go overseas, some take gap years. Um, the closest you'll probably ever get to anybody is on Facebook. Most people, once they leave high school, they leave the guys that always brought trouble to their doorsteps behind.
Yeah, it was fun in a controlled environment.
Yeah,
It's not so fun in the real world.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. So, I mean, that's just what I thought about, and I just thought to round it up. An example that coach we're talking about made was that he had a player who was really good, talented player. He had he was fantastic in college, and he said to one an opposition player said something about his mother, right? Obviously, he got in his face. They got into a bit of a scuffle. It got broken up, and he beat him up, and then he got sent to the coach's office. And he said to him, "Man, you cannot do that. You cannot get into that kind of altercation and get into things like that. You get arrested, you get a record, and you go from being a first round draft pick to a sixth round draft pick, and that's a difference of earning $30 million in your first year to earning two. Okay, you have to think about it. And obviously the kid was like, yeah, but I mean, I can't let him say that stuff about my mother. I can't let him say that stuff about me. How can I, allow him to get away with that? And he's like, well, if you think about it, that I can't deny you, right? Everybody feels the need to defend their own honor and their parents' honor, their mother's honor. That's fine, no problem with that. Those are words on the field. You are making a $28 million decision right there. You get you get a record, you make a $28 million decision. And that is what it costs you to lose your cool. Then he says the guy actually then got drafted for $40 million in his first year as a first round draft pick. So essentially, that day that he got into that fight, he was making a $38 million decision.
Hmm.
So, as a player, as a kid that's trying to make cricket your career, we may not necessarily have those kind of numbers, but if you really want to be a kid that gets given a contract early by a franchise, by a county side, by any kind of team that will look to essentially pay you for your services, you have to be thinking about that but. Think about that but in your story. Is what you're doing creating a but in your story? And as soon as you can come to terms with that, is when you'll start to think to yourself, okay, cool, these coaches are human beings. The people who have to
Mm.
make the decision whether to sign you or not are people, and people just don't want to deal with problem kids.
Yeah, man. Nobody wants to deal with the problem, kid.
Yeah,
You may think it's fun. It may be fun from your perspective, but people are just not going to want to deal with you. So it's fun while it lasts, but at the end of the day, when it all comes down to it, coaches are just not going to select you. Guys are just not going to choose you. Why? Dude, that guy fights all the time, man. He's always getting into fights and stuff at school. Apparently, he was suspended from his school, whatever. You think we're still going to let you come play for our province? You got suspended from your school?
yeah,
Come on, man.
yeah, yeah. Make the right choice, man. T, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate your time. Again, week number 4 on the trot, man. I think we had a good time. It's been a long weekend. Had a bit of cricket this weekend. The groundsmen don't just talk; they play a little as well. My body's knackered, but I think it was a good episode. Any last words?
Yeah, man, another good episode. I'm interested in seeing that tournament, and that's the big one for me. I'm quite keen to see what's coming up in that tournament and how guys are going to perform there. And yeah, I'm keen for next week. You know how it is. It's been a good one.
Yeah, man. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on the Groundsman, where you find everything that has to do with school cricket, what the boys are doing, how they're doing it. We got Michael Mass tournament coming up in 2 weeks' time. We're looking forward to it. We're gonna have great conversation about the sports, young men, how to get them where they need to be in order to be to contribute to society in a positive an enlightened way. Thank you so much for joining it, guys. We really appreciate you. From the Groundsman, see you next week.
Peace.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Groundsmen Thoughts, man. That top order just demolished me. So normally what that structure looks like is that and honestly, that's part of why the groundsmen are here as well, so that you don't have to wait for Coke Week in order to see who's who and what's what.